faithfully conveying value, interpreting great books worldwide. Hello, this is Sally's Book Talk. Today we're interpreting the book called Adam and Eve. The Chinese title of this book, At Dawn, is quite subtle. Actually, the original English title is more straightforward. A literal translation would be Sex at Dawn. In English, dawn often symbolizes the primitive era of human evolution. The subtitle clearly states the book's theme: the prehistoric origins of modern sexuality. The authors aren't discussing a religious Adam and Eve story, but rather the evolution of human sexual behavior. For listeners under 18, please listen to this episode with parental guidance. The differences in sexual activity between men and women are obvious. As one comedian put it, men are like firefighters, constantly on emergency alert, ready to go within 2 minutes no matter what they're doing. Whereas women are more like flames that need specific conditions to ignite. So women aren't in a hurry about sex. They're relatively reserved, requiring patience to kindle passion, a view that aligns with most people's perceptions. Yet, the authors claim this description is fundamentally wrong, a serious misunderstanding of human nature. The book aims to debunk this misconception and analyze the truth about human sexuality. Christopher Ryan, author of Sex at Dawn, is a psychology PhD and best-selling writer. Co-author Cecilda Jaha is a psychiatrist. Shared interests led to their collaboration. It became an instant bestseller in evolutionary sexuality studies upon publication. The book boldly examines monogamy through animal behavior, tribal sexual customs, and human physiology to reveal truths about sexual behavior. To uncover the truth about human sexuality, the authors first detail the standard narrative of sexual relationships. This standard narrative refers to views accepted by most researchers, fragmented opinions rather than a unified theory. In summary, this standard narrative suggests that when young men and women meet, they subconsciously evaluate each other's mating potential. Men's criteria demand that women be young, beautiful, healthy, chaste with strong reproductive potential, whereas women's criteria require men to be healthy, wealthy, or have potential wealth, like being hardworking, smart, and so on. Also, potential to achieve high social status and provide sufficient material security for offspring. Once they mutually assess each other as qualified, they agree to mate or become spouses, forming a stable partnership. But during marriage, men and women often have impulses to seek affairs, which can threaten to collapse the stable relationship. This combination of stable partnerships and occasional affair impulses is called the mixed strategy of human sexuality in the standard narrative theory. The standard narrative is a conclusion from years of careful research by many scholars who firmly believe in it, and it's widely spread by media, aligning with everyday observations, thus deeply ingrained. However, the author disagrees with it, stating that its purpose is to set up a target for strong attack. To refute it, the author lists many renowned scholars as opponents, like Morris, who wrote The Naked Ape, Pinker, who wrote The Blank Slate, Dawkins, who wrote The Selfish Gene, even Darwin, author of Origin of Species, and anthropologist Malinowski. This whole group of celebrities' academic views are criticized because they support the standard narrative and built its core content. And in the author's eyes, all of this is wrong. In the standard narrative framework, sex is essentially equated to prostitution, where women trade exclusive sexual services for life resources. But in reality, it doesn't explain human nature. It only explains superficial sexual behaviors, a facade that emerged after agricultural civilization began over 10,000 years ago. So, what is human nature really? The author states up front, forget the tale that humans came from apes. We didn't come from apes, we are apes through and through. Because of this, all human behaviors can be studied and explained using animal ethology. For a long time, the standard narrative has done just that, using chimpanzees as a human template to understand human nature, portraying humans as equally brutal, dark, full of murderous desires and conquest impulses, that the author believes the standard narrative might have targeted the wrong subject. Human sexual behavior actually resembles bonobos more, and bonobos are smaller in size than chimpanzees. They follow the make love, not war principle, engaging in casual mating within the group with almost no taboos, and their mating frequency is several times higher than chimpanzees. Many conflicts are smoothly resolved during the mating process. That's why primatologist Franz de Waal says chimpanzees use power to solve mating issues. Bonobos use mating to solve power problems, meaning bonobos practice a typical multi-male, multi-female mating system. If human sexual behavior is closer to bonobos, it means multi-partner mating is human nature, which is precisely the author's stance. In hunter-gatherer societies before the rise of agriculture, there were no fixed spousal relationships. Most young people had multiple sexual partners, a state known as polygynandry, or more bluntly, its promiscuity. It was only later, under the suppression of agricultural civilization, that humans began transitioning to monogamy. But deep within humans, there still lingers a biological inclination toward monogamy, which drives their constant infidelity. The image of women as reserved and demure is actually a result of patriarchal suppression, a manufactured myth. That's why we encounter so many difficulties in marriage. Monogamy doesn't align with human nature. This is a sensational claim that requires strong evidence to support. So, what compelling evidence has the author listed? I've summarized them. There are roughly 6 pieces of evidence. Next, let's go through them one by one. First, the author starts with animal behavior to find examples supporting his conclusion. The logic is simple. Humans are just animals. If we can find examples of monogamy in the animal kingdom, it shows that human monogamy has a solid ethological foundation. But if monogamy is just an illusion in the animal world, there's no reason for it to be true for humans. Interestingly, the author did find evidence supporting his case. Previously, zoologists believed many animals were monogamous, like emperor penguins, whose parents must cooperate closely, forming stable partnerships to brave harsh environments, taking turns incubating eggs in snowstorms. While one parent incubates, the other goes fishing to provide necessary nutrition, ensuring offspring survival. For a long time, emperor penguins were seen as monogamy models. Their determined march through blizzards, inspiring millions of faithful humans. But this ideal model has completely collapsed with deeper research. Detailed observations show emperor penguin partnerships last at most 1 year. Once chicks reach 11 months and become independent, the penguin couple immediately splits without even waving goodbye. This so-called monogamy only holds for that year, while emperor penguins live over 30 years, meaning they'll form at least 24 partnerships. They even form trios, 2 males sharing duties for 1 female, suggesting she's had affairs with both. Moreover, females sometimes prostitute themselves, trading sex for nest stones, inevitably leading to affairs, completely shattering their image. Standard narrative scientists now avoid mentioning these black and white creatures. If penguins seem too distant, being birds, another example is prairie voles. As fellow mammals, they were hailed as monogamous models. Couples staying together, defending burrows, raising offspring, never separating. When one dies, the other remains celibate, living alone for life without remarrying. But after 30-plus years of detailed observation, researchers reached completely different conclusions. Prairie voles do spend more time with their partners, but given any opportunity, they sleep around. Monogamy seems just a facade for them, much like humans. And since it's a facade, why take it seriously? Well then, beyond animals, let's examine primitive tribes, the second key evidence. Few surviving primitive tribes remain, influenced by modern civilization, but their behavior is closer to human nature making observations more reliable than chimpanzee studies. Existing tribes across the Amazon jungle, Venezuelan plains, and Papua New Guinea islands, though separated by oceans, share nearly identical reproductive beliefs. They believe children need many fathers, not just one. They view pregnancy as a gradual accumulation of sperm from different fathers. After sexual maturity, women are constantly fertile, believing more sperm produces stronger fetuses. To them, men's semen is as crucial as women's milk for offspring development. Thus, women have sex with multiple men to gather sperm. Children aren't seen as illegitimate but receive care from many men. Survival rates exceed those with single fathers, and men bond over shared children rather than feeling jealousy. So, sex serves socialization as much as reproduction, an idea modern society finds laughable. But shared sexual relations strengthen group cohesion against uncertainty. When Captain Cook reached Tahiti in 1769, he noted locals having sex openly as naturally as handshakes, indifferent to partners. Sailors eagerly came ashore to indulge passions. Locals craved iron tools, so a single nail bought a night of pleasure. When departing, sailors slept on deck because hammock nails had been traded away. These tribes truly represent human nature. Civilized women suppress sexuality due to culture, but cultural forces can't fully override biological instincts. That's why people can't control affairs. To combat adultery, civilized societies even resort to capital punishment. Thus, monogamy absolutely doesn't reflect human nature. In other words, polygynandry aligns better with human nature. It's precisely for polygynandry that humans evolved continuous sexual receptivity like bonobos. That's the third key evidence. Many animals only go into heat seasonally, like cats in spring, but humans are receptive year-round, known as continuous receptivity. Continuous receptivity is the most unique commonality between humans and bonobos, rare in other primates. Its direct effect is reducing male competition. With ample mating opportunities, competition becomes unnecessary. Reduced male competition naturally weakens male alliances. No need for factions or enemies. Instead, harmonious coexistence, making offspring lineage ambiguous. Males can't identify their own children nor others. The best approach is universal care for all children, actually increasing survival rates. Thus, continuous receptivity leads directly to polygynandry, not monogamy. The logic is straightforward. With limited mating opportunities under monogamy, continuous receptivity is wasteful. Conversely, having receptivity but practicing monogamy is equally wasteful. Continuous receptivity isn't the only biological evidence supporting polygynandry. Many human physiological traits form a perfect evidence chain pointing exclusively to polygynandry. Take the fourth evidence: height difference between sexes, a crucial link in this chain. This height disparity isn't unique to humans, but common across the animal kingdom. There's even an academic term, sexual dimorphism. It means size differences between adult males and females. In some species, females are larger, in others, males are bigger. Chimpanzees, bonobos, and humans fall in the latter category, with men typically 10 to 20% taller, observed worldwide for over 2 million years. So, what does the height difference between men and women indicate? It turns out that among mammals, especially primates, the size difference between males and females is a key indicator of how intense competition for mating opportunities is. If mating chances are rare, males must develop strong bodies to monopolize mating resources as much as possible. The larger the male, the more mating opportunities he gets. Thus, polygyny becomes more pronounced. Silverback gorillas are a classic example. Male silverbacks are nearly twice the size of females, dominating the group. Naturally, their mating opportunities with females are extremely abundant. Whereas for animals with plentiful mating chances, there's no need for fierce competition. Males don't evolve oversized bodies, leading to similar sizes between sexes. For instance, Gibbons mainly practice monogamy with little size difference between males and females, and their mating is monotonous and dull. Human height differences fall between gorillas and gibbons. Not too obvious, yet not negligible. This shows human mating competition intensity is also intermediate, with opportunities neither too many nor too few. Specifically, humans aren't strictly polygynous or monogamous like bonobos were in between, belonging to a polygynandrous system. Now let's examine the fifth evidence from the author, also based on physiology, using sperm competition theory to back his view. Sperm warfare means one man's sperm battles another man's sperm. The battleground is deep in the woman's body. To defeat rivals, sperm even divide labor. Some intercept, others sprint, all aiming to outpace opponents and fertilize the egg first. Zoologists first found sperm competition in guppies, confirmed it in fruit flies, and later discovered it in humans too. So what does sperm competition imply? We can imagine, when would sperm need to wage war? Only when sperm from different males mix. Like the saying, enemies see red when they meet. Sperm are the same. So why would different sperm mix in the same place? There's only one answer. It's polygynandry. If humans had practiced strict monogamy all along, who would the sperm be fighting against? So sperm competition and the height difference between sexes complement each other, both crucial links in the evidence chain for polygynandry. If all that is silent evidence, the author also found audible evidence, the sounds women make during sex. Scientists have a specific term for this intense vocalization, female copulatory vocalization, which has long puzzled anthropologists. Why do women make such loud sounds during sex? And these sounds are so unique, they only occur during sex, never at other times, and don't blend with other noises. For instance, in a noisy building, if someone makes even a slight moan, it immediately grabs everyone's attention. Isn't that just asking for trouble? In fact, loud cries are often dangerous, essentially calling predators to come eat. So this behavior must have unique evolutionary value. What's its meaning? Actually, it's notifying other men, essentially a mating call, inviting potential partners to come quickly to facilitate intense sperm competition. Although this view is peculiar, it's been confirmed in other primates. Turns out, moaning isn't unique to human females. It's a common phenomenon among primates. Take baboons as an example. The sounds they make during mating convey complex information, enough to make other males quickly converge on the scene. And they're always ready to mate. Humanity's inherent polygynandrous nature has left deep imprints even in modern civilized society. All adults know this fact. There are only marriages that don't happen, not marriages that can't be dissolved. This cultural design has essentially left a backdoor for polygynandry. It's precisely because of this underlying polygynandrous impulse that the concept of the nuclear family faces collapse, leading to scandals like divorce and affairs. It is precisely to address this social crisis that sociologists loudly call for protecting family values. And using laws and morality to defend traditional values is essentially a cultural continuation of the monogamy habit. Above are the main points proposed in the book Adam and Eve at Dawn. Let's briefly review them. The authors believe that monogamy is merely a result of cultural evolution, not biological evolution. From an animal behavior perspective, it's hard to find strictly monogamous animals. From physiological features, humans' unique continuous receptivity, height differences between sexes, and sperm competition all provide ample evidence for polygynandry. Therefore, polygynandry truly represents human nature. Of course, there is enormous debate about all this. Although the author spends considerable space arguing their point, their use of evidence is somewhat selective, ignoring many unfavorable pieces of evidence. For example, in the Amazon jungle of South America, some marmosets practice typical monogamy. Moreover, tribes practicing polygynandry are in remote areas. which can be interpreted as polygynandry losing in competition with monogamous societies. Besides, the standard narrative isn't as rigidly mainstream as the author portrays. Anthropologists have long acknowledged that humans are pseudo-monogamous, which essentially means admitting to some degree of polygamy. However, monogamy is the mainstream form in most societies since human offspring take a long time to mature and are costly to raise. This clearly demands a stable partnership system. And in the process of social evolution, it has gained an overwhelming advantage over polygynandry. In this sense, we have reason to be skeptical of the author's views. Perhaps the famous evolutionary scholar Gould was right. Who can know the details of human life 2 million years ago? Although the author's perspective may have some bias, it still provides a unique lens through which to examine human behavior. All right, that's the interpretation of the book Adam and Eve at Dawn for you. The listening notes are below the audio. See you tomorrow.